Hello and welcome. My name is Abner Shavit. Myself and Dr. are delighted to host director Hubert Saaupr to discuss his film Darwin's Nightmare. The film screened at Dr. in 2005 won the Best International Film Award, and it later went on to be nominated for an Oscar. We would like to thank the Austrian Cultural Forum in Tel Aviv for their support in bringing this film back to Israel, and the film is available to watch on Aviv's website until May 22nd. So share it with your friends. You are warmly invited to leave questions in the Q&A feature of Zoom. For those watching on Facebook, you may leave your questions in the comments. And I would like to first start with a question first, Monsieur Saaupr. It's an honor talking to you. I have seen the film first 16 years ago. We watching it. It was amazing how well I remembered it. And first I wanted to ask, how does the film look in retrospect for you? I mean, for me, it looked like the film is more relevant than ever today.
Yeah, first of all, I'm happy to meet you, Avenir. For the first time, and I'm sitting in a beautiful garden in Bourgogne at a friend's house. Here's a little house, and now going back mentally to Darwin's Nightmare is of course a joy in a way, because it was a chunk of life which I loved, and it was a kind of a lucky strike, because I was, I was kind of longing to make a point on a word that we always have on our mouth, which is globalism, interconnectivity. Everything is connected, and it's such a big thing that you cannot really grab it, and you cannot really explain it either by specialists and academics. So I was trying to make a little case study of this interconnection of globalization. And I came to this lake, and I came to this economy around fish and Kalashnikovs going north and south. And it was in a sense just a random story of any product almost in a globalized world, which connects, of course, people and the fate and destiny of people. And once you connect them in a movie, and I prefer to say movie than documentary, because it's a movie is telling us a story, and it is cinema in a sense that you have an experience, a life experience in a way, in a good movie, and I connected to those people, and which all have to do with this one economy, which is the trade of Nile perch and the trade of guns and the same airplanes, and that's it. And I think it touched a nerve like 16 years ago. It was like a common moment of awakening, I think, on the planet, And this movie, which I made in a very, very simple way with a very small camera, it went in a way, it went too far, because the backlash of Darwin's Nightmare was very violent. It's another debate, but I'll let you ask questions, Avner.
Can you elaborate on the backlash?
I can,
as you mentioned.
We have altogether 1.5 hours, so let me be short on that. What happened is that a movie like Darwin's Nightmare, which is called, like, you can call it an art house cinema film, right? It never ends on the on the screen or on the desk of African leaders or Russian mafia or powerful people who feel that they are threatened in their kind of narrative in their kind of world. And because it was winning so many awards and won the César and the European Academy and the Oscar nomination, it was kind of too much for this kind of film. And then all these people who felt attacked in their way of seeing the world decided to you know, counterattack. And how can they counterattack a film is finding the guy who made it, which is me. And I had to deal with crazy stuff with death threats and court cases, and the people in the film were threatened to be killed in Tanzania, and I had to take people out of the country. Right? It was like 3 years of my life, and was I don't want to elaborate too much, but it was literally a nightmare. And I feel like it's like having survived a very crazy disease or something, you know, something that you don't know, that you're not ready for. Some something gets you, and you either die or you make it. And I'm still okay, and I'm still around. And I made a few films still, but I was in a point that I thought there's no way I can make another film. All I have to do is to try to physically survive, and of course mentally. And my goal was at one point just to get the people in on a safe ground, which are in the film, which were very very threatened at one point. Yeah. And ironically, it's like there's in the cinema world, there's a lot of debate always: what is documentary, what is fiction, what is non-fiction, where is the red line? And of course, there's no red line. There's a kind of a blur in a way, you know, because a lot of fiction films, which are strong and powerful, are in a way a document of, let's say, a director and her or his state of mind with the actors. So, and a strong documentary, in my sense, is cinema in its pure form, and it tells a story. It narrates something, and it is in a way narrative, but it doesn't mean that it's fiction, of course. And that's the very most important part. So when I was attacked very brutally after too much success of Darwin's Nightmare, the biggest insult was, this is all fiction, it's not true. And I was, you know, there were rumors that it's called today it's called cancel culture, but the word wasn't born yet in 2006. But I was exposed in a way that is just unbelievable, you know. It was in French newspapers. On the first page said Darwin's Nightmares all fake. So and so said that the kids in the film were actors and not real street children. The gun running is all invented by the director, because you know there's no he doesn't show proof. It's like, you know, ask Claude Lanzmann to prove that Auschwitz was true. You know, it's like, what are we talking about? You know, that's not the point. The point is that the proof is outside of a movie like this. So the whole debate was very idiotic, but very dangerous. You know. There was also a story. I mean, for the people who have just seen the film, there are some scenes which were very shocking for, you know, millions of people, where Tanzanians are frying the bones, drying and frying the fish bones, the skeletons, and then sell them on local markets, which is still the fact, by the way, as we talk now. On the Lake Victoria, it's still being sold. It's still fish bones are still being sold to local communities, because they don't have the power to buy fillets, because the fillets go to Europe, and it's as simple as that. And that thing was also called a lie, you know. It was like, you know, newspaper TV is a lie. It's all invented. It's for dog food, you know. which may as well be true. I mean, maybe some of the fish bones are fed to dogs, which I'm quite sure. But the factory which I filmed, the open air factory where they were frying skeletons, was for human beings, you know. So it's interesting because in general in history, not only in history of cinema, because cinema is a very modern phenomenon, but in general in history, once you speak a truth which is not comfortable, it's always called a lie, you know. And I was dealing with this in a very massive way, and I didn't have, like, now. If this happens now, I'm 53. I made a couple of films, and they're all kind of known in the world. They win prizes. So if this happens now, I have, you know, hundreds of film scholars who would stand up and write in my behalf, you know. But when I made Darwin's Nightmare, I was kind of alone. It's like this guy who, you know, I was standing alone.
I mean, you made me think that it's funny that actually the film won the best feature film award in the Oscars is more of a documentary than the film that won the best documentary award. So the borders are very blurred. But I wanted to ask about, you said documentary is cinema, and the film Darwin Nightmare is very expressive. Can you talk about the use of close-ups in the film and the use of faces, and what attracts you? Why are you interested in faces?
You know, there are two answers. It's a very interesting question. There's a philosophical, aesthetic answer, and a practical answer to that question. The philosophical answer is that I think that the truest form of cinema is when you sit in a dark room with hundreds of people, and you meet, quote unquote, somebody as a kind of a hologram on a game of like, which is a projected beam of light, which is not a real person, but you still have the feeling like you meet someone like yourself, like another human being, and you feel connected, and you feel like you learn something about humanity and about yourself. So the truest moment to me in cinema is the real encounter, the close encounter, when you look into somebody's eyes, like I look in your eyes now, by the way, via Zoom. I'm closer than you as I'm just thinking about it.
So, I'm also looking in your eyes.
So one of the reasons why I'm closer is a technical reason. When you shoot with a big crew and 5 sound people and 10 people who close a road and say silence everybody, now we are shooting, then you can do any kind of shot and the sound is good. But when you shoot in a crowded place in Central Africa, and if you want to have a sound that is able to be strong and impressive in a cinema, you'd better be close to this person with your microphone and with your camera. So it's also a technical thing. The closer you are, the stronger is the sound, the more present it is. And the further you are, the more it sounds like shit, you know, because then you hear a truck in the background, you hear people screaming, which you don't see on screen. It makes you disconnect very easily if you have bad sound in a documentary. It's also one of the reasons why I like to be close and at night with people. At night it's quiet. And you have time to think, and you have time to look into people's eyes, and you don't see distracting things in the background, even if you're in the street. It's also one of the reasons, by the way, why people are so impressed by, why people are so touched by black and white movies, you know? I was thinking at one point that maybe my next film is going to be in black and white, even if it's non-fiction, because if you look at me now, you see my face, it's quite okay. But if you see the same shot, let's say like this, and you suddenly have this red thing, and if this is moving, then you're distracted, and when you're not distracted, when you really concentrate on somebody's face, which is often the case in black and white movies, you're more, it touches you stronger in another place in your soul. But it's a subconscious thing. It's not something you can really explain. So those are the two answers, you know. And once you do something as a filmmaker, once you start, or as an artist in any discipline, once you start doing something and you feel it's authentic, it's true to what you feel and what you do, then you develop, despite yourself, a style, a method, a way to see things and a way to shoot. And so until this day, I shoot with tiny cameras, for example, so I can be physically close to people. I don't care at all about grainy resolution, 4K, 8K. This is all nonsense for me in my type of working, you know. Because what makes an image authentic is not the resolution, you know. It's not the pixels. It's the energy and the way to hold a camera and the way to move around and the way to ask questions to the person and the way to look into people's eyes. I mean, I look into people's eyes literally like I look in the zoom camera. I have tiny cameras. I hold it like this, and I talk to you now, and this camera for the person that is being filmed is at one point completely disappearing. So I'm just essentially, the feeling is I'm really talking to that person or a group of people.
I'd like to remind everyone we still have 15 minutes left. If you wanna ask a question now, will be a good time. I have a silly question, but my father wrote a book on Darwin, so I'm obviously inclined to ask questions on him. What do you think he would say on the film and on the situation?
I don't know if Darwin would be around. He would be you know, cancelled probably as a racist and as a border fascist. But at his time, he was just an amazing mind, you know. I don't know what he would say about this movie, about my movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting question. I never heard anything like that. I heard people asking, "Where is Darwin in your film? Why do you call it Darwin's Dead?" You know, I mean, it is what I understand of Darwin. I'm not a scholar like your father of Darwin. What I understand is that towards the end of his days, he understood that his theory of natural selection and the survival of the fittest and all these kind of amazing thoughts and punchlines can be used in a political way and in a very disastrous way. You know, it can be used as an argument to kill people, and it was, I think, in a way, right? I mean, you tell me, you probably know better. And so the social Darwinism, which I think Darwin wasn't very eager to kind of promote, came about despite Darwin, you know, and he if I understand well, he was trying to distance himself by the end of his life with you know, it's like all these big people. It's like you invent a nuclear bomb and you say like, you shouldn't use it to kill people. You know, that's the fate of big personalities, I guess, that they suddenly realize that their children of thought can be used in a very disastrous way. But you know, I mean, I came about the title because of the scientific side of Lake Victoria, because Lake Victoria was this. I have a friend who wrote a book, Thijs Goldschmidt. He wrote a book called Darwin's Dream Pond. And Darwin's Dream Pond, where evolution works at its best and its fastest, is Lake Victoria, because apparently the people who study fish noticed that the appearance and disappearance of species has an extremely quick overturn, and so new species are being born and evolve in a very quick way, until this crazy predator came and ate all these fish, and the game was over. So the scientists are kind of puzzled about this crazy place, Lake Victoria. But of course, in a bigger sense, it's the human, which is not explicitly said in the film, but anyone who has the capacity to read these kind of films understands that the Lake Victoria and the fish is just kind of a prelude, a little metaphor for a bigger picture.
There's one question here before we have, I think, 2 more questions left. We have time for 2 more questions, and one of them would be from the public. Talia asks if we can go back to the basics. How do you come across this story, this area?
Talia, are you guys all in Tel Aviv, or is this like, did you make a screening of the film, or was it all just online?
I think it was a virtual. The film was screened at the time in the festival in the theater, but now the screening was obviously virtual.
Virtual, yeah. I came across this story because I made another movie in 1997 in the east of the Congo, and that was it's called Kisangani Diary, and it's a film I would not recommend to anyone who has I mean, Kisangani Diary is so nightmarish that Darwin's Nightmare is a musical comedy compared to it. It was about acts of genocide, civil war in the east of the Congo, where Rwandese people, and in this context, the people who were flying in the bombs and the mines and the ammunition to kill these people were Ukrainian pilots. And I met, by the way, an Israeli guy, Yaakov Bar-On, in Kisangani at that time, ex-fighter pilot from Israel, who was like probably then my age, like mid-50s or something. And he ran a transport company, and he introduced me to this world. I was fascinated by planes too, and I became friends with Yakov, and I was staying with him. And he introduced me to these Ukrainian pilots, to the warlords who were around. And I was suddenly, almost despite myself, in the middle of a literally crazy story of gun runners, people who decided about life or death of thousands of people overnight, the UN acting and not acting in favor of people. And I also kind of became friends with these Russian truck drivers, so to say, flying truck drivers. And I thought they were fascinating. They also told me, we're not only flying bombs to the civil war, we also bring the aid and the UN delivery for food, and the same pilots, in the same flight sometimes. They would bring like landmines and prosthesis for Handicap International in the same plane, because it's the same destination. When people blow up on landmines, they need wooden legs, So, and I thought it was intriguing. And these people, it was like the most normal thing for them, was like, that's what we do, you know. I mean, they were like, how do you think the guns come to the Congo? It's not Air France bringing it, you know. It's like we bring it, you know. That's it, you know. It's not more, not less, you know. But when you make the connection, it becomes a bit crazy, you know? Like anything in life, you know. A lot of times, one thing is very odd and casual, and then everything is also odd and casual but connected. It becomes an explosion. And these guys were also flying with bombs to the Congo then, and then via Lake Victoria with fish back to Ostend in Belgium. And when I found that out, I was, you know, sometimes on board with them. I flew back to Tanzania, even in '97 with them. And I first came to Mwanza. And then I thought it's kind of a crazy story, and I should understand more. And that's it. That was the beginning of a nightmare.
So we have time for one more question. Unfortunately for me, it won't be my question, but another question in the Q&A. The question is by Helen Janowski, who, by the way, she made a short documentary that screened in Berlin 3 years ago. You can look it up. It's a very good film. And she asks, taking into account the fact that the film did not change the reality and the lives of people, did it? Can you tell us what drives you to start new projects?
Well, that's supposing a lot of things. What's the name of this person?
Helen.
Helen. But first of all, I don't know what Helen knows about those people. I mean, she doesn't know. I mean, it changes a movie. Our Zoom conversation changes people's lives, you know. Mm-hmm. If we want or not. I don't know if in the for the better or the worse. I don't know which way. You understand? And I think a movie changes a lot of things. And sometimes in a way that, you know, or always in a way that as a maker of a movie, you can never anticipate, you know. And you cannot be responsible. You cannot make a movie that is seen by 10 million people that become de facto 10 million different films, because ultimately Darwin's Nightmare in your head, Aבнер, is not my movie. It's like your life experience, your set of associations, your set of experiences connected in collision with my film, and also depending on who you are at that day, how you feel, etc., etc., that becomes the movie. So, and if you want or not, once you saw a movie like this, you're not the same person. But I cannot say it makes you a better person. I cannot. I mean, it's like, I don't know, you know, it could make you, some people would just see these kind of films and say like, okay, this is the proof that Africans will never get out of these terrible situations. Some people would say, this is the moment that I should really change my life and work for an NGO for the rest of my life. Many people came up to me and said, like, I saw Darwin's Nightmare and then I wanted to make films and I became a film director. I said, I mean, fine, but it's not, I don't take credit for this. It's just a fact that a mass media has a huge impact on the world, you know? But I didn't make Darwin's Nightmare as like a political NGO, Christian-driven activist to save children on Lake Victoria. I cannot, because that's not the point of a filmmaker. You cannot, even if you want that. And this whole narrative is North American. Is this person North American, by the way?
No.
No. I mean, this North American narrative, often North American narrative, that films should be militant to specifically save, you know, a group of people, open our eyes. What is handicap? Open our eyes for the poor children in Afghanistan. I'm not a part of this kind of philosophy. You understand? I think the people that I knew personally in Tanzania, they were very affected, also negatively. And I did all I could to kind of, as I said before, to kind of get them out of harm's way. But that's me, Hubert. It's not me as a filmmaker. It's like, because it's like when you know somebody who is in trouble, you, independently of what you are, who you are, you do what you can, right? If you're a scientist or an artist or a politician. But I don't feed into this. I don't claim that because I make a film about globalization, then globalization will become a more human, or people will stop to kill each other. It's not a claim I can take. I hope for it, of course. I hope it makes people more awake, more politicized, more open for questions which they didn't ask themselves before. But I cannot. It's not like that's not the motivation of my work. My motivation is to figure out things, to be fascinated by the world, by humans, by the contradiction of humans, and to share it in form of movies or in form of a conversation like we have now. It's also similar in a way. I share, and I'm happy that you're listening.
I think it's been, I've been doing these Zooms for a while now. I think it was one of the most special conversation I had.
What was it?
Our conversation was one of the most beautiful, unique conversations I had on Zoom, for sure.
Yeah, we should meet in real life once.
Yeah, we'll meet in France one day.
Yeah. Well, this is what it looks like now in Bourgogne. See, this is a nice tree.
Yeah, I can show you in Connecticut. This is, I think, you see, there's like some cherry blossom here.
Great, similar.
Yeah.
Similar climate. Yeah.
So thank you, Uber, for the film. Thank you for your words. Thank you for listening. And I hope we'll meet each other soon.
I hope so too.
And thanks again for Doc Aviv. Thanks for the Austrian Cultural Forum and the film. The film is available until May 22nd, a day before my birthday, by the way. So you can share, spread the word, and share it with your friends.
Hey, goodbye, everybody. I'm so
goodbye.
I so love to be in Tel Aviv. I've been many times, but now for the last 15 years not. So I can't wait to come back one day.
So we'll all see each other soon. Have a good day.
Take care. Nice to meet you.